Today on Inside Comics, All My Children's Walt Willey, Jay North, Dennis the Menace, and Alec Baldwin is the Shadow. Welcome to Inside Comics. I'm Tony.
And I'm Nikki. Today on Inside Comics, Alec Baldwin is the Shadow, All My Children's Walt Willey, and Celebrity Corner with Jay North.
But first, let's take a look at Full Moon Entertainment.
What was that?
What? Whoa! Full Moon Entertainment is known by its fans as producers of science fiction and fantasy stories, but few fans know the man behind the scenes, Full Moon founder Charles Band.
Well, Full Moon, I started in 1988, but I've been making pictures since 72, so a lot of films before Full Moon, films like Reanimator, From Beyond Dolls, Ghoulies, Metal Storm, Parasite, and other weirder shows back in the 70s. I just love the genre. You know, I grew up in a movie-making family, and I enjoy the genre, and after I kind of learned how to make films and got all that background, I decided to try to put them together and see if I could, make films in the genre that I'm a fan of. So back in the early 70s, I made my first horror film, and, I haven't really stopped.
Charles' work was profoundly influenced by comic books.
Well, I'm like a real insane collector, so my favorite books as a collector are, of course, all the early Marvel stuff, all the pre-Marvel superhero stuff. I'm a big Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko fan. I've been concentrating for years on collecting original art, primarily pre-Marvel superhero art by Kirby and by Ditko. I also have a lot of Golden Age material, and I'm collecting high-grade books, and I'm just like, comic book head. So I'm into Marvel, pre-Marvel, Silver Age, early DC, and I've been collecting since I was, I guess 12.
You gotta try this.
And all you need to play are 2 quarters and your soul.
The latest film by Full Moon is Oblivion, a science fiction western written by comic book veteran and writer of The Hulk, Peter David.
Oblivion really has its roots in 1930s and 40s pulp magazines, in which you essentially had cowboys and aliens in outer space. It is a genre that has its own name, space opera, and has continued throughout the decades. Probably the most conspicuous example of it is Star Wars. Star Wars is merely space opera. They took away the guns and they gave them light swords. But the cantina sequence from there was right out of a Western. With Oblivion, we've essentially done the same thing. We've gone right back to the source and made it cowboys and aliens in outer space.
Peter's a wonderful writer, very clever, and I think when the fans see Oblivion, which is a picture coming out later this year, I think they'll appreciate the writing because there's some wonderful stuff in it. He's a lot of fun. He's a good guy.
You put this film out there, and people are going to come see it because George Takei is in it, or because they know him from Star Trek. They may see it for Carl Stryken because they know him from Addams Family or from Star Trek. Julie Newmar because they know her from Batman or Star Trek. People may come to see it because they know me from my comic book writing or Star Trek. And as a result, they come and see this movie and they say, oh, wow, this is fun. What an entertaining genre this is. Science fiction westerns.
Peter also worked on the scripts for Trancers 4 and 5 and made a brief cameo.
Jack dead. Only squids can be trans.
Listen to my voice.
Once a soldier's place, his mind can be turned over to me in a matter of minutes.
Not gonna get me up, Jack.
You have no idea what my soldiers are capable of.
Fundamentally, Jack Death was, to my mind, bogey. So much so that I even tossed in a riff from Casablanca on Transist 5. He is the classic hard-bitten detective. The thing that I wanted to do to give him a different spin was that we took the hard-bitten detective and put him into this otherworldly sword and sorcery realm, shook it up, and see where we came out.
Peter introduced former Catwoman writer Jo Duffy to Charles. She rewrote the screenplay for Full Moon's Puppet Master 4.
She was involved in rewriting Puppet Master 4 and 5, and Joe was introduced to us also by Peter, who said, hey, we needed some work. The scripts were a little bit, they just didn't have any real sparkle, and she also did a very good job. With a few weeks, she managed to, put some good stuff into those scripts.
Did you guys come here to protect me?
Besides producing movies, Charles has started his own comic book imprint called Silver Moon.
Early on, we had an arrangement with Malibu where they did comic book adaptations of some of our films. We weren't involved directly creatively, and they worked for what they were. They helped turn people on more to the label, but I don't really want to be in that part of the business. So we have started a comic book label called Silver Moon Comics. We have a whole staff. We've hired some real talented people, and we'll be online, so to speak, next summer. We'll be publishing 3 or 4 series and 2 or 3 miniseries. We signed Harlan Ellison to do one of our series. He's going to be writing one of our series. We have some really quality players involved, and these comics will all be, stories, new ideas, new characters and creatures. They won't be movie adaptations. And the idea, of course, is that some of it works out real well. It'll be a real kind of fertile ground for future development, and then some of those comics will probably become movies.
Now, we've asked a lot of comic book creators, who do they see playing their characters in a movie? Who do you see drawing some of your movie adaptations, if you do any more in the future?
I'd love Kirby to draw them all. Kirby and Zevko, please, draw them all, please, draw them all.
Looking at comics this week, I want to talk about one of my favorite comics of all time, The Badger. Yes, this was originally published by First Comics. The Badger is a crazy martial artist with 7 distinct personalities who teams up with a 1,000-year-old wizard named Ham. And it's a great book. It's now coming out of Dark Horse. There's 2 different versions of the Badger comic. One is the Shattered Mirror, and that's being done by Jill Thompson. And then the other version is the Zen Pop Funny Animal version, which is more like the original series that came out of First Comics. And make sure you look for the Badger movie that's coming from Paramount soon.
I like the Badger. He's funny, he's witty, he's a good character. It's a very good book. I also recommend it. Also on my plus list is the X-Men from Marvel Comics, my favorite comic book of all time. Here's a great book. You have mutants who are humans who are born with special abilities. It's a team of them going out to protect our world from evil mutants like Magneto. I know you know these guys. They're hot. You see them Saturday morning. Great book. I highly recommend it. They got the Kubert family working on it now. Definitely a plus. Read this book.
Can't say I like the X-Men anymore, not since Chris Claremont left the book. The book hasn't been as consistent. The continuity's been a little messed up, and I just don't like the characters much anymore. I'm a little sick of them. But hey, check out our new X-Men contest. Yes, we're having a big X-Men contest because the X-Men are coming out with a movie, and we want to know what you think the actors and actresses should be for the X-Men.
On a postcard, pick 5 X-Men and then write down which actor or actresses you think should play them. We're going to be giving away all kinds of prizes, and the winners will be in our newsletter.
Send your X-Men entries to Inside Comics X-Men Contest, P.O. Box 10035, Philadelphia, PA 19108.
Cosmic Comics on the White Horse Pike in Berlin, New Jersey, just off Route 30, midway between Atlantic City and Philadelphia. Golden Age, Silver Age, and Modern Age comics. T-shirts, trading cards, magic cards, and sports cards. Cosmic Comics also has mail service. Comics delivered right to your home. For more information, call 609-768-7117. That's 609-768-7117. Cosmic Comics. For collectibles, if you want it, we'll find it.
Call for more information.
Welcome back to Inside Comics.
Taking a look at today's super movie. A super movie is a movie about superheroes or heroic exploits. Today's super movie is The Shadow.
The Shadow is a tale of a man named Lamont Cranston who fights the evil that lurks in the hearts of men by using his own.
You go. I surrender. You're finished, Khan. You are losing your concentration. Your mind is too weak.
I thought The Shadow was a pretty good-looking movie. I like the premise because Lamont starts out as this incredibly evil and despicable drug lord that ruthlessly takes over parts of China. But then he comes back and he uses his powers to fight evil. That part of the movie I liked. I didn't like the ending. The plot about Genghis Khan's great-great-great-great-grandson trying to take over New York City. It just didn't work for me.
I like The Shadow a lot. Couple problems with it, though. I didn't like the comical end that came off really poorly when they had the character Margot and her father chasing after this big bomb that was just rolling around everywhere. And I also didn't like the fact that a lot of the famous lines that The Shadow was famous for back in the days of his radio serial were used like once real quickly, and then the references were never made again.
Also, Jonathan Winters is in the movie, and he's totally wasted. He doesn't do anything. He just plays a bit part, and it just wasn't a very good movie, unfortunately. Let's rate The Shadow on the Mighty Meter. I got to give The Shadow a 1.5.
I'll be a little bit more generous and give The Shadow a 4.
A 4? That's a bit more generous, don't you think? A 4? I didn't even give The Crow a 4.
I liked it, except for those two little things.
Oh, well, I guess you loved it. A 4.
While in San Diego, Inside Comics talked to All My Children star Walt Willey. Not only is he a fan of comic books, but he's going to be in one.
Walt Willey is a comic book fan.
As a matter of fact, flying here today, there was a kid that had the brand new X-Men, and I told him that I'd have Bernard Chang sign Dr. Mirage number 13. I'd send it to him if I could read his X-Men on the way over.
He's played attorney Jackson Montgomery for 8 years and is currently teamed with the manipulative Erica Kane for the 3rd time.
I'll tell you what, once you have dinner with me at the country club, huh?
Oh, Jack, I'm really not up to going out on the town.
Well, that suggested we go out and dance on the tables.
I'm not even up to making conversation.
Well, that's fine. I'll do all the talking. Just listen. The only reason you'll have to open your mouth is to chew. The writers are shooting for a bit of closure between Jack and Erica because Jack and Erica have, as I say, been around the merry-go-round a couple of times, but never really got to see if it was going to work. There was always some kind of intervention. Either she married my brother for the 2nd time, or Adam somehow convinced her that she was married to him. So the bottom line of that has been that we've never really gotten to see what would happen if we were just left alone. And I think we're going to get a chance in the upcoming months across the summer to find out what will happen.
And he'll be appearing in Valiant Comics' Second Life of Dr. Mirage, number 13, as a former friend of Carmen.
I've just finished the script. It's very exciting. I may have slept with Carmen at one time. So we don't know that, though. Walt being too much a gentleman to tell whether he did or not. And if he did, when.
His association with Valiant started with his longtime friend, Howard Johnson.
That was a very strange thing. I have a very good friend who's been in the comic business for a lot of years. His name is Howard Johnson. I've known him since before I'm 3 years old. We grew up in the same little town in Illinois, in Ottawa, Illinois. And I was at his wedding out in Las Vegas. I was standing up for him, and one of his friends, Joe Quesada, was also there, who at that time was drawing for Valiant. And we got talking about the fact that really soap operas and comic books are the only existing serials that are still around, which is a bit redundant, but they're the only unending stories. And wouldn't it be nice if we could do kind of a crossover thing? And it just so happened that through the auspices of Joe, he introduced me to Steve Nazarski and Bob Layton, and I pitched the idea to them. And much to my surprise and thrill, they went for it.
Despite his busy schedule, he still reads comics.
Oh, I'm pretty eclectic. I tend more for the graphic novel than the single comic book because I don't get in a comic shop often enough to follow a continuing saga. So I'll either wait until they do a compilation, or I'll go for a graphic novel. Of course, it's real strange because two of my favorite titles when I was a kid, which were unfortunately at that time Gold Key, was Magnus Robot Fighter and Solar Man of the Atom. I thought, what a damn shame they weren't Marvel or DC. Well, now, of course, at Valiant have got those titles. I'm thrilled to death to see them back. Those I do read fairly regularly, and Exo's threatened me that if I don't start reading that, he's going to kick my butt.
If he had his way, things might be different for Jackson Montgomery.
You know, that's not true. People think that Jack has slept with everybody. Jack has slept with less than a handful of people. Jack has slept with Erica, he slept with Brooke, he slept with Laurel, he slept with Barbara Montgomery, but that was so long ago that nobody even remembers. And that's it. I'm hoping Gloria's sick and tired of Alec, though, and maybe take a shot at Jack would be all right with me, but we'll see.
But not for Walt Willey.
So my life is almost complete. I've been fortunate enough in my life to work on television with some extremely fine actors. I now own a ranch, so I get to be the cowboy I always played when I was a kid. I'm now a comic book character. I'm on a trading card. Now, if I could just be a posable action figure, my life would be complete.
Fight censorship. Support the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. The Defense Fund is a non-profit organization supporting the rights of comic book artists, writers, and creators. In its 6 years of existence, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund has spent over $100,000 protecting cartoonists' freedom of speech. Show your support. Send your tax-deductible donations to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, P.O. Box 693, Northampton, Massachusetts, 01061, and help keep freedom of speech free.
September 16th. For your chance to win a Time Cop promotional package, write to Inside Comics and Time Cop, P.O. Box 10035, Philadelphia, PA 19108.
It's sponsored by Inside Comics and Universal Pictures. Time Cop. Turn back the clock and your history.
Can I get you to say Inside Comics? We'll be right back. No?
Comics won't be back.
It's time for the Super Series. The Super Series is a series either about superheroes or heroic exploits. Today's Super Series is Duckman.
Duckman is about a private investigating, widowed, chain-smoking duck.
I bet those mindless pod people who believe in that thing still wait up for the Tooth Fairy. Because he's rotting in a Turkish jail. Will you hurry up with those disguises? For those mindless pod people are my family. Nope. Who's this supposed to be?
I'm guessing, but I think it's a highly misunderstood painter whose rhythmic linear brushstrokes were an arrogant break from the old masters, and who was so desperate for a unique artistic identity that he was trapped in a hellish downward spiral of hostility, madness, and self-mutilation.
The beard's cool. Let's do it. What about your disguise? Whoa! Who are you supposed to be?
Your agent.
I really love Duckman. There's a lot of great voice talent going on there. Besides Jason Alexander, you got Weasel Zappa, who voices one of Duckman's sons. Frank Zappa, the late Frank Zappa, did the theme song, and Duckman's just very funny, very cynical, very witty.
I love Duckman. I look forward to this show every single week. Watch it. You will not be disappointed.
Let's rate Duckman on the Mighty Meter. I gotta give Duckman a big 5.
I also give Duckman a 5.
Check in today's Lucky Letter.
This one is from Ahmad Nichols, and he is from Salem, New Jersey. Ahmad writes, why do all the good writers and artists leave the major companies? Well, Ahmad, when you take the Image guys, they were all at Marvel. They left Marvel to form their own company to have more creative control over their properties. What does Ahmad win?
Ahmad's going to win a Time Cop promotional package from Inside Comics and Universal Pictures. Philip, I hope I say your last name right, Stefano from Williamstown, New Jersey, writes to us, Dear Inside Comics, are there any plans for an X-Men animated movie? Well, Philip, at this time, there's nothing but a couple animated specials planned, but Marvel is trying to get a live-action X-Men movie together, so keep your eye out for that. What does Philip win for writing us?
What a surprise. It's a Time Cop package from Universal Studios and Inside Comics. If you would like to win a cool, neato prize, send your letter to Inside Comics, P.O. Box 10035, Philadelphia, PA 19108. Please include your name, age, height, weight, blood type, and a question.
Cosmic Comics. For collectibles, if you want it, we'll find it.
Okay, welcome to Celebrity Corner. We're here at the Film Expo 4 over here at the Holiday Inn, and I'm here with Dennis the Menace, Jay North. How you doing, Jay?
Fine, real good. Happy to be here.
Jay, what sort of comic books did you used to read and collect?
Well, I was a big fan of the Archie comic books. Those were the ones that I used to read, Superman and Batman and Green Hornet. But I never read any Dennis the Menace. Didn't care for them, surprisingly.
Oh, really? Yeah, that is a surprise.
Yeah, no, I was never a big fan of the comic strip, nor of the show. I never watched my own show. I think that there were too many bad memories associated with those years, unfortunately. And I'm happy that it gave a lot of people, millions of people, pleasure. But my big comic book heroes were definitely Archie. That was my comic book hero.
Now, Billy Mooney of Lost in Space is writing the Lost in Space comic. Have you ever considered writing the Dennis the Menace comic?
No, Hank Ketchum has all the rights to the Dennis the Menace comics, and I think that I would probably end up in some legal trouble if I tried to start writing some Dennis the Menace comics on my own. He has all the rights to the comics, and it's his baby. And that's why basically when there was talk of doing a reunion show with our cast years ago, he kind of didn't like the idea because he felt that it would destroy the integrity of his comic strip character, and he wanted to keep Dennis a little boy in the comics forever, and didn't want the character to be grown up for a reunion show.
Oh, so were you going to be like a menace, or were you going to have a son?
They were going to have, yeah, exactly that. They were talking about doing it. I didn't think it would go over too well because most of those reunion shows with the old TV families just don't go over well. I mean, you can't really go home again, so I'm just glad that we didn't do it. And my association with it is pretty much over. I'm glad to come here and do these shows, and it's nice to meet all these people and people that you brought, these people that you brought pleasure to, but my association with it is pretty much over, and I think I'm just continuing my life on as Jay North, apart from that character that I played as a kid.
What do you do now?
Well, I am living in Florida, and I'm probably going to be going to work for a law enforcement agency in Florida. I've always been very interested in that, and there are some areas, there's some work down there in that particular area. So you'll probably be hearing of me doing that kind of work in the future.
Great. Well, thanks for talking with us today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Jay North, Dennis the Menace. Tune in next week on Inside Comics when we'll take a look at Mortal Kombat 2, the video game.
And we'll be talking to Wolverine creator Len Wein.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.